Hi everyone, I'm Heather and I'm the CEO at SHARC, and at SHARC we work with people who have drug and alcohol issues, and with me is Pamela, who is the volunteer worker at the Women's Recovery House. The way that we work with people at SHARC is that we use our lived experience in our work. And for over 15 years, SHARC ran a women-specific recovery house for older women in their recovery journey. And Pamela and I were actually both residents of the house over 20 years ago, and now we're in whole different kind of roles in our life, but still with SHARC, which is quite extraordinary, I think. As happens, unfortunately, the Women's House lost its funding over 15 years ago, and what happened for women then who wanted to come into a recovery-focused housing program at SHARC, they were obligated to work in live in and work their recovery in mixed housing, because that was the model that the department funded at the time. Pamela and I also were really concerned about this because we felt that there were specific issues to women due to their life experiences where the kind of housing and support needed to be and was best done in a community of women. We talked about this a lot, didn't we? And tried to come to a solution around this and thought, well, the very first thing that we need to do is get a house. So we did a lot of lobbying and a lot of conversations with a lot of people. And in early 2016, we got a wonderful 5-bedroom house, and we were very determined that that 5-bedroom house was going to be for older women in recovery from substance misuse issues. And the house took on its own life in early 2016. And Pamela's going to share with you a little bit about the house.
Thanks, Heather. So often the women come to us with a multitude of complex issues around access to their children, domestic violence, and other traumatic experiences. So, gradually by them being in the house, they're able to get a sense of community and be living their life the best they can. So once they come into the house, we sort of do an assessment and we get referrals for them to go into counselling or into domestic violence counselling, specialist health cares, and they participate in a very structured program of activities which they can join into each day. I think that's about it.
Thanks, Pamela.
Thanks.
So Pamela's worked as a volunteer for us for the whole 4 years that we've been running the Women's House. I'd love to share a story with you today about Anouk, who was one of the longer term residents in our Women's Recovery House. And she actually was really hopeful to be with us today, wasn't she?
Yes.
But circumstances with the COVID shutdown have not allowed that. But she's asked that we share her story, and I hope that I can do it justice. But Anouk came to us with a long-term history of homelessness. And for her, she talks about couch surfing being the most familiar thing in her life through that period of time. She had a long-term history of alcohol dependence and experienced the distress and consequences of that kind of lifestyle. She'd lost access to her children, and she was no longer employable in the career that she truly loved. And Anouk spent over 6 months with us. And she really worked hard, didn't she, Pamela?
Absolutely.
She really applied herself to the goals that she set, and she worked incredibly well within the community of women. And one of the magics, I think we'd have to say, that happens in this kind of housing is that women come with distress and feeling disempowered, and through the actual community connection with other women, they get the opportunity to start feeling some empowerment through the support that they give others. I'd like to tell you the really exciting part of this story is that after this incredibly hard work by Anouk, she talks about being able to completely turn her life around. She now has access to her children. She has a work in a job that she truly loves and says that she's good at. You know, when you think back to Anouk as her way of describing herself was somebody who'd run for a long, long time and who'd completely lost her identity as a mother and as somebody who was a participating member of society through her work.
Mm-hmm.
And we see her now and my heart just opens. Her life has truly been completely transformed. So in closing, I'd like to thank the Melbourne Women's Fund and just say what a privilege it's been to be with so many worthy contenders here today. I'd also like to say that if we were successful in getting the grant, we'd be able to employ a worker who would support the women in their everyday recovery journeys. They would also set up protocols that are really essential for that house to be a credible, accredited entity in today's times. And it would enable us to establish a volunteer mentor training program with women who've been through the house. And that, of course, would help with our sustainability going forward. So, in general, on behalf of Pamela and myself and the current women in the house and the women yet to come, we'd like to say thank you, and we're incredibly hopeful that this valuable program for older women in recovery with so many complex issues may be able to continue into the future. So thank you.
Thank you.